3 points in the first half. Buffalo's offense came alive and became monsters in the second half, scoring 23 points to defeat the Steelers 26-7. Welcome into Bills Postgame Live. He's Bills Wall of Famer Steve Tasker. I'm Maddy Glab. Buffalo's defense had some fire underneath them in the second half with 2 takeaways. They're playing bully ball. Allowed just 58 rushing yards on the night. How did Buffalo's defense impose their will on the Steelers, Steve?
Well, certainly they stopped the Steelers' run game to begin with, and then they got after the passer. They covered up. The secondary played really well. They only got 1 sack tonight, but the quarterbacks, whether it was Mason Rudolph or Aaron Rodgers, they had nobody to throw the football to. They had to hold on to the ball in the pocket. It led to the first sack after halftime. The Bills' defense, I got to say this too, the Bills' defense tackled well tonight. That's been an issue.
I like to hear that.
Yeah, it's been an ongoing issue. We've been talking about it, and they just tackled well. And that, you see what that difference that makes. It's a basic thing. But yes, this defensive front played extremely well against the Steelers' run game. Kept the quarterbacks in the pocket. You knew Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to run around too much, but he's so poised. This play to start the third quarter was the backbreaker, and as the rest of it turned out, Mason Rudolph, and the next play comes out and throws this over, and Christian Benford, after the scoop and score, gets the interception on the next series. And then the Bills are up by 9, and then it was really over for the Steelers. They could not muster any offense, and give the Bills defense credit for that.
The Bills' defense scores 13 points off of those takeaways. The Steelers went into the game leading the NFL scoring points off takeaways, but the Bills beat the Steelers in that category tonight. Josh Allen goes off for 123 yards, completing 65% of his passes, has 1 passing touchdown, 1 rushing, and 1 interception. Let's hear from the QB who's on the podium after this win.
Doing good. Doing good. Found a way to win. That's all that matters.
What did you say about the play in the backup tackles coming in?
I mean, unbelievable job. Obviously worked real hard. Game planning wise, it's a credit to our offensive staff. But them going out there and doing their job. I heard we set a record for rushing yards in this stadium, which is so cool. I'm so proud of both those guys. They continue to work extremely hard. They've both been kind of like the jumbo tackles for us that have been in and out of the lineup. And it was very, very cool to see them get their opportunity tonight, and they took advantage of it.
What do you think was, outside of obviously great play up front, but that Steelers defense, what was exploitable in the run game? What were you guys doing that was so successful?
Guys were running hard. Guys were breaking some tackles. The holes were there. Guys we were doing our job. Shaves and Khalil, sticking their head in there. A lot of duos that we ran tonight, and they were going in there and digging out safeties. And it's not easy to do as a wide receiver to go continually do that, but they did tonight. It was awesome to see.
You were voted one of the biggest trash talkers, and you and Cam seem to be having a lot of exchanges. Did that get you going at all in the second half?
Maybe a little bit. We love the competitiveness out of this game. He's such a great player. Sometimes you need fire like that to get you going.
You started off, Josh, by saying that you got to win and that was all that matters. In the first half, offensively, a couple of turnovers again.
Yeah.
What happened there, and was it concerning at all? Just kind of the lack of momentum offensively at halftime there.
Picked the wrong side. And the guy kind of sat and made a good play. Obviously, I don't want to throw picks. If I can go back and change it, I would. But I think kind of got into a rhythm there that second half. Obviously, the fumble touchdown to start the second half off gave us a huge jolt of energy. Get the ball back, we score. I think we scored on the next possession as well. And then that last drive, I think we took a lot of time off the clock. So, early on, I want to change that, but we figured it out, and that's who we got to be moving forward.
What was it about concerted effort to get the running backs as the receivers, to make a concerted effort to get to pass the ball to your running backs?
Yeah, I think there were some opportunities for our backs, just making guys miss in space. I don't know the exact stats. I know Ty had a really big one on third down. Jimbo had a couple. But yeah, there's just some space there and just trying to take advantage of it. get the ball out quick. I think with this D-line, that's kind of how you have to be, is ball out type throws and find space. I think if we eliminate that first turnover, it's a pretty solid night in the pass game.
When you got hit after that slide, what did it mean for you to have your teammates having your back right there right away?
I mean, they had my back regard. It's no surprise to me. Those guys are my brothers.
From the outside looking in, I could be wrong, but that play kind of provoked you guys up. Does
Maybe.
it feel like that?
Maybe a little bit. And moving forward, probably don't need that to get us going. Find a way to get going by ourselves. But again, I mean, this is a really good team that we just played with a fantastic defense. One of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. On the road to find a win, that's what we came to do. It's just whatever it takes to get a W, and we were fortunate enough to do that tonight.
You didn't need to pass the ball. You run the ball so well. But that being said, to nitpick, the downfield game still seems to be struggling. Guys are just, every ball you throw is 5 yards out or behind the line. What has to get that turned around to be more aggressive downfield?
I mean, I think that was, again, we had some opportunities down the field. They played back, and we're throwing it underneath. And again, with this D-line, you don't want to sit there and take a 7-step drop and pat the ball, because they're coming to get you. So I think it was more game plan tonight of just, again, finding space, letting our guys work underneath. And the way that we ran the ball, again, there wasn't a huge need to take shots, and understanding what type of game this was. A little bit of wind, a little bit of cold, personnel-wise of who they got, who we got. This is a typical AFC North type team where ball possession, field position is crucial to the game, and I think that's kind of what we did tonight.
What can you say about James Cook's season? Obviously, tonight's game, a big part of that now context, but as you look at what he's brought to this team here.
I mean, he's one of the, if not the best back in football. The way that he can just grab the ball and hit the hole as fast as he can, the way that he can move, shake the first guy. He's very, very rarely tackled by the first defender. So he makes our offense go.
Your touchdown set the NFL record for quarterback touchdowns. Just can you take us through that run?
Yeah, third down. It looked like they played kind of we call it 77, some brackets, where they're doubling two guys on the outside. And, Ty Johnson just kind of made an adjustment mid-play. I kind of followed him and got out to the right. And again, just kind of got stood up, but the O-line coming to throw me in there was pretty cool.
You got process that record yet?
Nah, I mean, it's not why I play the game. I'm just happy, help this team get a victory tonight.
Keon got back in the lineup. I know it was a ton of statistical performance, but he made a touchdown catch for you there. What do you think that can mean for him going forward?
Yeah, we're going to need him. We're going to need his ability. He's a very talented football player. He's made some real crucial plays for us this season, and we're going to need more of that moving forward.
You mentioned a little bit.
How many hits you took a week and a half ago. This game, not as much, except for when he ran the ball. Can you compare the two in terms of the physical toll last game took and being relatively clean?
Yeah, again, I think it was an effort, game planning wise, of maybe get some hands on these defensive ends, the ball out type throws, and again making sure that I'm getting through my reads quickly, and if it's not there, find a way to either run and get some yards or find a way to dump it off, and thought we did that well tonight.
Josh, how about your defense? You come out for the second half before you know you got the lead, then you get the ball right back. What did that mean to everybody?
I mean, that was a huge jolt for us, and I mistakenly said in halftime, score, stop, score. We weren't getting the ball first, but that's exactly what happened, so maybe I ought to say that more.
You mentioned what it means as a quarterback for Alec and Ryan to come in, but we also saw a clip on the broadcast of you at the end of the game. We saw them embrace Sean out here as just their friend. What is it like to see them kind of get thrust into this and perform?
It's so cool. Again, those are two guys that you never, ever have to worry about their work ethic or their want or their love for their teammates. They continue to grind, and again, like I said earlier, they've been kind of the offensive jumbo tackle, swing tackle type situations, but they did not blink tonight. And for us to go in there against that defensive line unit, that's some special stuff, and I could not be more proud of them.
Josh, both you and Sean talked this week about the urgency being up. Did you sense you guys had that urgency in this game, and how important it is to carry that going forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's super important. sitting at 8-4, understanding where we're at in our division and the conference for that matter. Got to continue to find ways to win football games, and we feel like the few or the 4 losses that we've had, big part of that has been turnovers, and again, just making sure that we're better in that, and understanding when we can protect the ball and move the ball and not hurt ourselves. We can be a really, really good team. Thank you guys.
Josh Allen saying he could not be more proud of Ryan Vandermark and Alec Anderson, 2 backups who were thrust into starting roles today because of their right tackle and left tackle not being able to go due to injuries. Now, those 2 combined for just 7 starts going into this game. And you're going up against the Steelers' defensive line, who's physical and scary, led by T.J. Watt, who's got 115 career sacks. The Bills won't run the ball. They won't even try. Oh, yes. Yes, they will, and they'll succeed. 249 rushing yards by Buffalo. That is a record number allowed by Pittsburgh at home. What? That was wild to watch.
I got to say, if you're an opponent of the Bills and you can't beat this version of the Bills with both offensive tackles out of the game, with the leading receiver for the offense out of the game, for the starting heartbeat player in the middle of your defense, Bernard, Terrell Bernard out of the game, at least those 4 and others out of the game, and you can't beat that version of the Bills, you're a struggling football team. The Bills came in, and I think, and you heard Josh, because of the motivation and what people were saying and what people think, guys like me, I mean, I was like, nobody thought the Bills could go in and manhandle a Pittsburgh Steelers team on the road, the way the Bills have played on the road of late. It really says something about them. James Cook, they leaned on him, they leaned on Josh, they leaned on their best players and the guys around them, that offensive line, 2 backup offensive tackles, Ty Johnson, Ray Davis. You can't say enough about the heart and soul of the team. They really stepped up today and won a road game in a tough environment. Wow.
Speaking of heart and soul, you look at the offensive line, you look at the guys on the line of scrimmage in a game where you're without your right tackle and your left tackle. You see wide receivers blocking. You see tight ends helping, blocking, and chipping the defensive ends. It was a real team effort to grab 249 rushing yards against a really good defensive line.
Yeah, and now the Bills can run the football, but they got 2 backup offensive linemen at the edges on the road against a really good team. I was shocked. I got to tell you. I like the way they used Josh in this game as well. Some called runs, and Josh just tucked the ball under his arm and said, "I'm getting this," and he did. I know it's a risk for Josh to do that, and if something happens to him, all bets are off as to what the season could ever become. But him doing that, and most people will realize this, when Josh does that, the players around him on the bench, his teammate, the guys on the field, they buckle it up for him. That turned it up a notch for this Bills offense. It turned it up for the Bills defense when they see Josh Allen out there playing like a real live Buffalo. Guys stand up for him. I was impressed with Josh. I thought it was a smart move by the coaching staff to let him do that a couple of times. And it helped the running game overall with James Cook, Ty Johnson, and Ray Davis running it because Josh was a threat. It also helped them down in the red zone. And in the conditions they had tonight, with it being so windy, that was the perfect game plan. And the team and the guys executed it well. This 8-yard run into the end zone when it turned into a team meeting at the goal line. You can't say enough about what that does for the attitude of the team. And that, the 2 turnovers right out of halftime, that game was over right then. We didn't know it, but it turns out that was all it took.
One of the best parts about running the football successfully is you do not give the other team a chance to do anything. Time of possession in this game, 42 minutes for the Bills to just 18 for the Steelers.
42 minutes.
They had a 15-play drive, a 16-play drive, a 14-play drive. They were not giving the Pittsburgh Steelers any chance in this one because they went on for so many rushing yards. Alec Anderson, one of the backup tackles who was a starter in this game, is in the locker room right now.
False starts early, obviously. Is that jitters? Is that what's going on in those moments?
I just knew that TJ was going to be screaming up the field, and so when he was in the wide 9 or off the body 5 technique, I was really more hesitant about getting out there, and so I was trying to time up the silent snap count as perfect as I could, but I got caught a couple times.
Most total rushing yards an opponent's ever had in this stadium. What does that mean to you guys?
It means that, we have the best offensive line in the league for the run game. I think, we come in here and, come into a place that's known for the Iron Curtain and kind of tear it down. I think it was a great experience for the entire offense this year and also the defense, shutting them down and only holding them to 1 touchdown. So I think it was just a great collective group effort, and I think that everybody executed when they needed to execute.
What about the pride it takes you and Vandy in here, backups, and you still able to perform like that?
It comes down to our team, and our motto is do your 1/11th, and that's what Vandy and I did. We went out there and we knew that we were going to have to play lights out tonight and have to really dive deep into our technique, and that's what we ended up doing, and I think the results showed for themselves.
Who and how did you settle down?
Sean McDermott said during the week what we're going to make up with lack of experience in terms of our non-starters on the field on offensive line. We're going to have grit, and Alec Anderson is all grit. He had 2 false starts early on in the game, but didn't have another one after. You're in an away game setting, so you have to go to your silent count, which is not easy to do as a non-starter. Why is it so tough to time things up on a silent count?
Yeah, and he gave you some great insight. It wasn't just him jumping offside. He was trying to time it up perfectly so he can get a jump on a wide 9 technique. So it's not just I wasn't listening, wasn't paying attention. He really was cutting it fine. And, he got caught a couple of times. And in that loud environment, particularly early on when the game was close, the crowd was into it there in Pittsburgh. It resulted in the penalties. It was. It's easy to see why, but giving his answer to those questions really gives you some insight as to how much thought goes into that stuff.
Buffalo's defense played nasty in this game, just allowing 1 touchdown, 3.8 yards per play. They forced 4 punts, a turnover on downs, and 2 takeaways. One guy who was in the middle all night tackling people was Shaq Thompson. Let's hear what he had to say. He's in the locker room right now.
Flipped the game. I mean, how did it feel like that kind of momentum changed everything right in that moment?
It was big, right? Because I think they had about maybe 2 turnovers in the first half. Yeah, they created 2. They created 2. So it felt good, right? We're down by 4. It felt good, I don't know who made the play, Joey or somebody forced the fumble. CB picked it up and scored, and the message today or last week was, or this week was score on defense, and we responded to that. We got challenged by Coach McDermott, and we stepped up and showed up.
So you're the one who gave a speech to the defense, and when was that?
No, I didn't give a speech to the defense. What's in-house is in-house, right? Just understand the mentality was Dogo mentality.
Josh says he accidentally said score, stop, score, going out for the second half, not realizing.
Who said that?
Josh said, and then he was like, maybe I should say it more often. Did you hear him say that?
I didn't hear him say that, but, we understand the message coming from our captain and our leader, you know what I mean, and guys responded well.
It felt like, to me, being on the sidelines, that this game also changed when Josh took that shot that they didn't call a penalty on. You guys seemed like you really responded. After that, you had a bit of an attitude about you. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I think the attitude, though, was just from the week, you know what I mean? Coming off that loss, and we just wanted to get back in that win column, and I think the offense did a great job, we protect our brothers, right? And that's what they did, there was no penalty called on us, but, it should have been a penalty, late hit, you got to protect the quarterbacks.
This game was maybe not aesthetically pleasing, like for people watching. Is this a fun, physical, tough game like that? Is this a fun game for you guys?
Yeah, it's a defense kind of game. Like, you want this as a defense, right? You want it to be low scoring. I understand the league is high scoring, that's how you get the money, but man, for a defense, that's not good, right? We want a low scoring game. You know what I mean? That means we're showing up, we're stopping stuff, getting off the field, getting the offensive ball back, and creating turnovers. So for defense, we loved it.
Thank you.
That was Bills linebacker Shaq Thompson, who led the team with 9 tackles. I love what he said. The message this week was to score on defense. That's exactly what they do to start the second half. Joey Bosa gets a sack, forces a fumble. Christian Benford recovers it and runs it into the house to score a touchdown. And then on the next possession, they get an interception. It was by Benford. The attitude that you saw this defense play with is something that we haven't seen consistently this season.
Yeah, they really rose up because the Pittsburgh Steelers were chippy tonight, and this turned into a chippy game. And it did, as you heard Sal Capaccio in the locker room ask Shaq Thompson, did you get a little attitude lift when they got a shot on Josh that should have been called a penalty and wasn't? Stuff like that does kind of go a long way. It does kind of ratchet up the intensity on your side of the football. The Bills met the Pittsburgh Steelers right where they were. You saw Cam Hayward and Josh John and Cam Hayward getting a penalty. It was one of those games. And the Bills, held not more than held their own. They came out on top. They made the plays. And not for nothing, they stayed more disciplined than the Steelers did. The Steelers got a couple of personal fouls. A.J. Epinesa got a soft one when he playfully knocked the ball out of the receiver's hands on an incomplete pass. Okay, that's different than pushing the opponent's quarterback or getting into a sideline scuffle. So the Bills met the Pittsburgh Steelers right where they were at. This was a chippy game. And Shaq Thompson said it also in that locker room interview. Not so much said it, but you could feel it. Defensive guys need to be comfy in a close game. They don't have a problem being in that spot, right? That's where they want to be. They don't want to be in a blowout. They want to be in the middle of it. You got to be comfortable in that if you're a football player. And Shaq Thompson, that kind of guy in your locker room, reminding defensive players, hey, this is where we want to be. Let's go. That's big in moments like that.
How about Buffalo's run defense, too? They played with some grit in this game. They were physical. They had an attitude about them. You're not going to run the ball on us. They came into this game one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL, allowing 149 rushing yards per game. They allowed just 58 to the Steelers. After the Steelers last week had 186 rushing yards per game. That's a statement.
And they also got some help from their own efficiency. Pittsburgh had 43 offensive plays in this game. Buffalo had 74. Yeah. They just wouldn't let the Steelers stay on the field. You go back and look at the possessions of this game, and the Steelers' possessions in the second half were fumble, interception, punt, turnover on downs, and the end of the game.
Yeah. No chance.
They absolutely got stuffed in the second half of this game. Their longest drive of the game was a 10-play drive at the start of the fourth quarter. It went 57 yards, and that's the one it turned over on downs on the Buffalo 7, where the Bills got a fourth down stop. That was their longest drive of the game. Other than that 10-play drive, they had two drives of 6 plays in the first half. That was it. It was 3 here, 5 there, 2 here, 1 there, 4 there, 3 there, and then 3 at the end of the game. The Bills' defense really stuffed this offense and would not let them have anything. And the time of possession is an indicator of that. Those drives and the number of plays they had on those drives is an indicator of that. This defense was never threatened by this offense.
Yeah, Buffalo's defense forces 4 punts, 2 takeaways, and 1 turnover on downs. That is a defensive game for sure. The Bills, after losing their last 2 games away, they pick a win up and add it to their win column, now 8-4 on the season. Sean McDermott is now on the podium. Let's hear what he had to say after this win.
Good win. Tough place to play. Well-coached football team. A lot of respect for this organization, their coaching staff, their players. Hard-fought win and a team win. Hard to do, especially late in the year on the road. Our guys, they showed up today. They stood up. They knew this would be a challenge, and they rose to the occasion. I'll start with the defense. The big takeaway after half was huge, takeaway and score. Then the ensuing drive, get another takeaway. CB, I believe it was Joey on the sack fumble. But even bigger than that was stopping the run. Our defense came out. They did a great job. Bobby and the defensive staff all week long, coaching it up, getting our fits right. 4th down stop was obviously big for us. Offensively, once we stopped beating ourselves in the first half with penalties and turning the ball over, played more of a complimentary game. And 1 first down. The rushing offense was incredible, especially against that defense. Well-coached team, like I said before, tough front to run it against. And we were able to stay in some positive 3rd down situations where we were not in 3rd and long. 240-plus yards rushing, and then key completions with Josh, sometimes moving around a little bit in the pocket, and that 4-minute drive was really like a 8-minute drive, I think it was, but big-time drive right there for us, and then capping it off with a field goal to win it. So all in all, great effort. Certainly things we can work on, but good to come on the road and show our toughness.
John, your defense, really since the second half at Houston, has kind of taken it up to a different level. Why all of a sudden? What has changed, you think, in the defensive performance?
Oh, maybe more understanding. Guys just, kind of just flying around, playing relentless style football. Well, they work hard during the week and take a lot of pride in their work. So I couldn't be happier with the way they played tonight.
Coach, I know the defense kind of sparked things with the 2 takeaways there back-to-back, but when Josh got hit on the slide and there was no flag, obviously his teammates came to his defense, but I don't know, all of a sudden it looked like the mojo got kicked into gear on offense. Did you sense some of that juice that came from that play?
I would hope so, right? I would hope so, like you would. I expect you to be out there right with them, Chris, So when you put a hit it like that on our quarterback, the sideline's going to erupt. The team's going to back our quarterback like they would any player. So that's what I expected to see. That's what they did, and it was what it was. So.
Probably mentioned it during your opening statement. I came in a little late. I apologize. But Anderson and Vandermark stepping in. There's some video you at the end of the game there when they're coming into the locker room. Alec, I think, picks you even up. Pretty emotional. But for those guys to step in, Josh not to be sacked, to rush for 250 yards, what does it say about the job they did?
Well, those guys knew. They knew the challenge that was in front of them. Their teammates supported them. They didn't blink. They really didn't. I thought it was a great move by the coaches in terms of how they had it set up. Coach Cromer, Coach Gunn, and Joe, obviously. And, those guys did not bat an eye at all. And I love that. That's who this team is. Guys go down, guys step in, do a phenomenal job. And just, again, the toughness of our football team on display.
Did the wrestler and you want to come out when Alec picked you up at all there?
I know better.
You had the ball 42 minutes in this game. That's kind of insane for the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't lose a game like that, right? It's almost impossible to lose a game like that, right? You didn't lose. But
Let's not go there. Let's not jinx it, right? No, I mean when you do that, to your point, it's how you control the game and you play the game on your terms. And once we got through the turnovers in the first half, you really saw the fruits of their labor. We were driving the ball in the first half against a good defense, and yet then we were shooting ourselves in the foot with a couple false start penalties and then losing the ball. So that was really the message at halftime more than anything, is to take care of the ball and make sure we're executing the way we know how to execute.
Earlier in the week, you said something to the effect of when you think of the Steelers, you think of a physical brand of football. Considering what you did both on defense and in the ground game, what can you say about your team sort of stepping up to that challenge, task, mentality?
Yeah, no, I think people who play the Steelers know. I mean, it's a storied franchise for a reason, and they pride themselves in playing great defense and physical brand of football. I know Mike. I've known him for a long time, and he takes a lot of pride in that, and I respect it. So, but we're not going to be out physical, and our guys know that. So they know what we stand for as well, and what Buffalo Bills football is about also. So, that came out in our football team tonight, and it was good to see.
You mentioned the turnovers. I think it's up to 11 in 4 games. You're making it tough on yourself when that happens. What do you attribute those to?
If I knew, I'd get it. We'd get it to stop. But you can't turn the ball over multiple times. Fortunately, we got the 2 after half and scored on defense. But we can't keep doing it. It's a very risky way to live, and we've already lived that life more than we want to and more than we can afford to.
Shaq Thompson seems to just step up for you guys time after time when you need him, again, including tonight. What's he done to fit in so well into this defense?
Yeah, well, he knows the defense coming from Carolina. He's a dog. He plays with an edge. He leads with his voice. Did a great job leading the team this week. Spoke to the team, I think it was Friday, I believe it was, and stood right up there and challenged them. And that's what leadership is right there. There's a couple different ways to lead. That's one of them.
You mentioned the takeaway there at the first play of scrimmage in the second half, the sack from Bosa. How big was that? And to see him make an impact play like that in that situation.
We needed it. No, it was a huge play. And when you come out, we got the field goal before half. We wanted to come away with 7. But it was important we got points because that was a long, time-consuming drive, drained them of their timeouts. But they were getting the ball after half as well. So that was, hey, can we double dip? And not only did we get off 3 and out, but we turned it, took the takeaway there and scored on defense, and then an ensuing drive after that, and took it away again. We gave our offense good field position, so that was part of it. Is like, can our special teams and our defense set up our offense in scoring position throughout the game, knowing that they were going to have a uphill battle.
John, what was the benefit of not pushing them back on the extra point? Because with the coverage guys not moving back 15. It doesn't make. I don't know. I understand what you did. You kicked out of bounds, but why not make them kick the 47-yarder in the wind?
Which one are you on now?
The extra point.
Our extra point.
They had the penalty, and they had to kick. It would have been a 47-yard extra point for them.
Yeah.
You chose to take it on the kickoff, but with the coverage guys not moving back, it really didn't.
No, it's a tough decision, especially like they're going, hey, can we get? Really, I was thinking, can we get field position for our offense? Because we didn't. To that point, we hadn't had a great field position, so I wanted to see if we could create some field position. Obviously, it didn't work out that way, but those are tough ones, week to week, and you kind of end up resulting a little bit off of it, right? Is hey, I wish I had it back. So there's then you get the penalty that we had a chance to put it on the 1 and go for 2, and we've tried that before. That's kind of a trend that's going around the league that people are getting away from doing it. So it's a new game, and so you got some tough decisions week to week. But we take the good with the bad, and go back and reevaluate it. But those aren't easy. They got a good kicker either way. So he's a strong leg kicker, which maybe for some. And I went out early, watched him in pregame warm up, and he was pretty accurate.
Sean, I apologize if you were asked about this, but the hit on Josh's slide.
Yeah.
We've talked to a couple of your players about it, and it sounded like that kind of really changed the game and kind of like woke them up and reignited them. Did you get that sense from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely caused a stir on our sideline. That was, nose to nose, nobody backing down. They weren't backing down, we weren't backing down, and we came to play. And so you hit our quarterback like that, there's going to be, you're going to spark our team a little bit. So, it was what it was. All right, thank you guys.
This week's game is presented by LECOM, Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine. The way the Bills course-corrected in this game was important. In the first half, they had 5 penalties, just 3 points, 2 turnovers. Second half, just 2 penalties, 23 points, and 2 takeaways. Sean McDermott said it at the half, we're beating ourselves. In the second half, they controlled the game in the second half. What was the best adjustment that they made?
I think one of the things was they stopped turning it over. Certainly, you knew it was going to be a loud environment, and so a couple of false starts by Alec Anderson, and we talked about that earlier in our post-game comments. That how much thought went into that, but for the offense, just not turning it over, the fumbles and the interception by Josh, who. You'd like to see your receiver, Gabe, you'd like to see him battle for that and make that an incompletion at the very least. Goes the other way. But the defense holding the Steelers' offense to only 7 points off of those 2 turnovers, going into the half, getting the field goal at halftime, where that the possession right before halftime was a 16-play, 65-yard drive that resulted in the field goal. You felt like the Bills could do some things offensively, and coming out of halftime, we've observed this defensive staff for the Bills does make some pretty good adjustments. Well, they covered him up in the back end. Joey Bosa had a chance to retrace his steps, get the backside hit on Rodgers, moving out to his right, scoop and score, and all of a sudden the Bills have the lead. Rodgers can't come back for the ensuing drive. Mason Rudolph throws a bad interception. All of a sudden it's 17 to 6 or 17 to 7, and the Bills are up 10, and then the game's kind of over. The Steelers offense could not do anything against this Bills defense. Give the Bills defense some credit, but after the first drive touchdown the Steelers got, the water shut off, and then the Bills scored 23 unanswered.
Buffalo has now traded wins and losses in the last 5 games. After 2 straight road games, they're back at home to face the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday. What does the team need to do?
Certainly clean up the interceptions and fumbles. You can't do that. The penalties that the Bills got should, I say that, knock on wood, should clean up themselves with a home environment.
True.
The Bills thrive here at home. You've got to protect the football against this Cincinnati team. They are a potent offense. They're going to score some points, and they're going to make some plays against you on their offense. You have to be ready for that. Just like Shaq Thompson said in his remarks in the locker room, we're okay with a close game. You kind of got to be willing to know that the other team's going to look good at times, particularly on their offensive side of the ball. Your offense has to dominate this football game. They've got to score points. You've got to be able to stay on the field. You've got to be able to create first downs, and you've got to find an answer for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins for the Cincinnati Bengals. They're very good.
Josh Allen, a pretty good record following losses, now 27-9 in his career. Also, with his rushing touchdown today, passes Cam Newton for most rushing touchdowns in a career by a quarterback with 75. We want to thank you for tuning into Bills Postgame Live. For Steve Tasker, I'm Maddy Glab. We'll see you next time.